I will be ranking every fitness influencer cookbook out there from best to worst. The rankings will be based on 3 variables. Price. Is it just a good price for the amount of recipes? Recipes, are they good recipes? Are they creative recipes? Do they actually build muscle? Are they actually low calorie? And lastly, visuals. The visual appeal of the page. Do the pages look good? Are there pictures of the food? Just the visual in general. And in total, we will be ranking 7 cookbooks. Will Tennyson's Bite Me cookbook, Joey Swole's The Swole Recipe Cookbook, Greg Ducette's The Ultimate Anabolic Cookbook 3.1, Damo's Cookbook of Gains, Mike Israetel's Simple Science Diet, Extras for Cheat Meals Diet Cheat Codes Recipe Book, and Remington James Fitness The Anabolic Cookbook. Now, before we get into the rankings, I actually have my own cookbook that you can get for free. If you want a bunch of simple, low calorie and high protein recipes, either go to ofitness.com or link in the description and get your own free cookbook right now. Let's get into the rankings. Will Tennyson's Strip Down and Get Cooking cookbook. This one comes in at about 40 euros and it gives you close to 150 recipes. There's not that many cookbooks that will give you this many recipes, this many low calorie and high protein recipes for this kind of a price. So the price, I would say, is pretty phenomenal. And then moving on to the recipes themselves, they're obviously very fitness based, but they're not that really creative. Obviously, everything about the recipes, you have your ingredients, your directions, how many servings it makes, as well as maybe a comment by Will himself on each page. However, the recipes, they could be improved upon a little bit. As well as, one thing to mention about this cookbook, it does also give you tips on dieting. For example, he shows you what is always in his pantry, what is always in his fridge, and he does these very visually appealing and cool drawings. And then lastly, the visual part of the cookbook, that's his biggest strength, I would say. He put in a lot of his heart and soul into this cookbook. You can definitely see that. Each recipe has a visual photo of the recipe so you can see what the meal looks like, which is amazing. You sometimes have comments in between pages by Will. You have some visually appealing pages. He definitely put in his heart and soul, so the visuals are amazing in this cookbook. Looking at the layout, could be improved upon, but it is very, very clear. Very concise. You have your title, you have your ingredients, you have your direction, and maybe a small description by Will. You have everything there that you need. One small thing, he did not make videos of how the recipe is made, which loses him a point. I'll be honest, I definitely want every cookbook to have a video of the person making the meal, because that is just such a big part of a cookbook as well. I think this one does not have that. So ranking this cookbook, I would say it goes into high B tier. It stays quite cheap for the amount of recipes. It gives you a bunch of tips on bodybuilding and dieting, and it is super visually appealing. However, it could improve a bit upon for example, making videos of him making the recipe. That could improve the cookbook much more. Joey Swole's cookbook. This one, first of all, for price, absolutely free. You can get this cookbook right now for absolutely free. So the price is amazing. It gives you about 20 recipes. for absolutely free. However, then we move on to the recipes, and the recipes are quite simple, I would say. The recipes are something like what you would find in a regular cookbook, not a bodybuilding slash fitness influencer cookbook. I'm not saying that there's still high protein and quite low calorie, but they are just basic recipes that you would find anywhere. The recipes don't contain too much knowledge that you could learn. Like in some of these other cookbooks, there's actual knowledge, bodybuilding knowledge, that you can learn how to feel fuller from some meals, what sweeteners or flufferers to use. This one just kind of gives you the basics. It just gives you a couple meals that are the gold standard, basically. As well as the recipes themselves aren't in any particular order, so there is no breakfast section or sweet section or whatever. It's just a bunch of recipes in a line. So for the recipes, I would have to say it's kind of not too bad, but also not that great. And lastly, the visuals. The visuals of this cookbook are not that great as well. Obviously, this cookbook was made quite a long time ago, so that could be a part of it, but the visuals are not that great. There is a picture of each meal, so that's definitely a great thing. However, when you look at the layout of the nutritional information and ingredients, and the layout of the page, it's not that great. It's not that great. So for the ranking, I would have to put these probably in C tier. While the cookbook itself is free, I wouldn't really suggest you spend that time like that. There's definitely much better alternatives, even free alternatives, like searching up free low-calorie recipes. If you want just a solid meal, then you can look at this cookbook. Coach Greg's Anabolic Cookbook 3.1. So the 3.1 indicates to the fact that there have been iterations. So he has released the Anabolic Cookbook, the Anabolic Cookbook 2.0, and the Anabolic Cookbook 3.0 and 3.1. So there have been variations of this cookbook in the past, and every cookbook adds more recipes on top. The price for this cookbook is about 120 euros for a cookbook, and you get about 180 recipes. So it's not that many recipes for the amount of price. However, the recipes themselves are quite high quality. So I would say the price, it's mediocre, I would say. Now moving on to the recipes themselves, the recipes are great. I would say for this cookbook, the recipes are definitely high quality. Firstly, starting off with the chapters themselves. So there's split chapters. So obviously you have your breakfast, your dinner, your snack, your all those, and there's subheadings to each section as well, such as French toast, pizza, pasta. There's also subheadings to each of those chapters. Each of the recipes are also great for building muscle and great for losing weight. And each recipe also gives you a bunch of variation. So for example, he doesn't say what fruit to use. He just says, 100 calories of fruit, and then you can choose what fruit you want to add. So you can kind of variate the recipe to however you want it to taste. And talking about the knowledge for each recipe does give you some amount of knowledge about dieting. So the recipes, that's what I mean by high quality recipes. And now the visuals. Greg, he missed out the visuals. So not every single recipe has a picture of how it looks. Most of the recipes do have a picture of how the food looks when it's done, but some do not. Looking at the overall appeal of the pages though, the pages do look very, very clean. It's clear ingredients, it's clear nutritional information, direction, and sometimes even some prep tips or tasty tips added in. One thing I did not mention, there is no QR code for the recipes. So For some other cookbooks, you will see that there is a QR code to see how the recipe is made. Coach Greg, if you could do that, this cookbook would be at the top. It would be at the top. However, because there is no video for each recipe, that kicks it down by a point, I would say. So if we have to rank it, this one goes into A tier, A plus tier. It's an amazing cookbook. It's not just a cookbook, it also gives you tips for dieting, which is great, and it is mostly just great because of the knowledge. Damo's Cookbook of Gains. This one comes in at about 40 euros and gives you 200 bulking and cutting recipes, so you can basically choose. And I would say the price is definitely decent on this cookbook. Now, the recipes themselves are not too crazy. Some of them are creative, some of them are basic, but also you can definitely see that he did put in some work in making these recipes. He didn't just, find the first thing and then put it on there. He did do some research. And lastly, the thing that I wanted to talk about the most about this cookbook, the visuals. The visuals and the way he advertised this cookbook, God tier. So obviously, if you haven't seen his advertisements of this cookbook, they were out of this world.
Oh my God! Son! You call this chicken breast? This isn't even edible! Oh my God, with 2 chicken breasts!
And as well, each recipe has a QR code showing you exactly how to make the recipe. The videos themselves aren't too great, but they show you how to make the food, which is basically what they should do. Looking at the layout of the pages, you obviously have your ingredients, you have your preparation steps, and sometimes you do have also a description of the food. The ranking, I would have to put this in A minus, let's say. It doesn't have the amount of recipes that it should. The recipes, he could definitely improve upon the recipes. However, the visuals and the price range and the QR code for the videos, all those things are just amazing, out of this world. Mike Israetel's The Simple Science Diet. This one is a part of a bigger bundle, so you can't just buy this ebook, The Simple Science Diet. You have to buy a whole bundle, and it costs 85 euros, and you get a bunch of things in the bundle for beginners. And you also get this Simple Science Diet. So it's not meant to be as a cookbook. However, it does introduce some recipes, and basically it does introduce a way of eating, I would say. The price just for the Simple Science Diet is not that great, but the bundle itself, the Ultimate Beginner Bundle, that one is priced well. You do get basically the whole beginner thing. The recipes themselves, obviously, as stated in the title, it's the Simple Science Diet. It's the most simple recipes that you will find anywhere. So it just basically gives you what you should eat, when you should eat it, and it just, says eat some broccoli, or eat 4 cups of spinach, or eat any fish, or 40 grams of protein of any fish. It's just very, very simplified things. And lastly, the visuals also obviously not that great. It's very simple visuals, so it's simple to understand each page. The whole science diet thing, it's supposed to be for knowledge. I do understand that it's not supposed to be a cookbook. The visuals are very simple, and there's not too much confusion. But I would say as a cookbook, obviously not that great, so this definitely goes into D tier. If you're trying to buy this for the recipes for the cookbook, it's not great. It goes into the D tier. Exercise for Cheat Meals, the Diet Cheat Codes. This cookbook comes in at a whopping 100 euros. 100 euros. And it gives you over 170 recipes. And guess what? Another thing this cookbook introduces is that it keeps getting updated. So what you buy now it will keep getting updated, because Exercise for Cheat Meal, he's basically adding in new recipes maybe every other week or every other month. He's adding in new recipes. So you're not just buying a cookbook, you're buying an updating cookbook. So for the price, the price is phenomenal. Recipes, there is a shit ton of recipes, a shit ton of chapters and a shit ton of sub-chapters. You got your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your sweets, your ice cream pints, your fruit sorbets, cookie dough. You got prep for school. You got everything in this cookbook. As well as obviously the basics. All the recipes are low calories and high protein. And there's also some tips on the recipes, so the knowledge effect of the recipes is also there. Just overall talking about the recipes, I mean, they're amazing, and there's a shit ton of them. And then talking about the visuals, the visual appeal of the cookbook is also there. There's a picture for each meal. The pages look insanely clean. You got your serves, you got your prep time, your cook time, you got your ingredients, you got the macros, you got your directions, and everything is so clean. I mean, looking at this page, it's so aesthetically pleasing. And one golden thing, again, you have that QR code for each recipe. So you can watch a video of how to make the recipe for each recipe. So moving on to the ranking, it may look like I'm absolutely glazing this cookbook. It's because I am. This cookbook goes straight to S tier. Shit ton of high quality recipes. There's knowledge in the book, and the book is ever expanding. For 100 euros. Yes, that's a steep price for an average person, but this cookbook is something else. This is not just something you pick up at your local store. This is an amazing cookbook. The Remington Fitness Anabolic Cookbook. This cookbook comes in at about 90 euros, and it's the same principle as the last cookbook. So this cookbook promises that it will keep growing in size. However, I don't believe it will, because Remington James hasn't uploaded in like 5 months. So he's probably taking a break maybe. So I don't think this cookbook is still growing. However, it still does have a shit ton of recipes. So the price, I would say, is kind of valid for the amount of recipes in this cookbook. The recipes themselves, not good. Not good at all. Yeah, the recipes just kind of seem like he just kind of threw them together and just threw them in there. There's no real chapters to the recipes. They're just, you know, in order going down. Just mostly, you know, popular recipes. But he doesn't have that heart and passion in each recipe. It's just there. And then for the visuals as well. Visuals, just what am I looking at here? No picture for the meal, no video of how to make the meal. There's only nutritional information and the directions. The aesthetics also of the page is just not even there. So getting to the ranking, it's a C tier. Yes, it's that bad. I would not suggest this one. There's definitely better cookbooks than this one. This one just kind of thrown together with not that much effort, I would say. And there you have the full tier list of the most popular top cookbooks in the bodybuilding / fitness industry. Again, if you want to get a free cookbook, then you can either head over to ofitness.com or link in the description and get my cookbook, which I made sure to make super visually appealing. There's some great recipes. Obviously, they're low calorie and high protein, so go get that. However, besides that, comment down below what you thought. Comment down below other cookbooks that you think should be on this list, and I will see you in the next one.